Morning on my YouTubers, on my union brothers, my union sisters, everybody out there on YouTube watching. So just a short video today. I was I don't know, I was thinking about something because so I had a guy on my Facebook. He had said something. He had made a post about there ain't no good jobs out there right now and things are bad. Nobody's hiring. Keep your job. And I had to be honest with him and tell him, like, look, that's definitely not been my experience. So if you want to get a good job, you kind of got to go to where the work is going to be. So I don't know what kind of job. I think he worked at a school or something. I don't know what he did, but he wasn't a teacher. He's something. He did something. But I told him, I said, look, man, obviously I'm a welder. I'm a union pipe fitter. So I get calls at least once or twice a week from different companies trying to get me to come weld for them. Just because I just maintain my resume up on ZipRecruiter and LinkedIn. I got a couple different things. I just kind of keep it on there just because the weekend job is what it is, but the weekend job's not necessarily for sure. Like, I'm always open to a better opportunity. It's hard to find a job just on a Saturday, Sunday. I don't know why, but for some reason these companies started calling weekend jobs Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but Friday is definitely not the weekend. So I get a lot of calls from places. They want me to work full time for them, take welding or doing this or doing that. And one of the reasons I had got into the pipe trades was because where I was working at the time, I was capped out around $31 an hour. And my supervisor at the place I was working at, Minneapolis Oxygens, I was a welder service repair tech. So he was about to retire. My boss was about to retire, and they wanted me to take over as the head of the service department. But they weren't really talking about no more money. Like, they were talking like I'm gonna cap out in the mid 30s, and I just felt like at my age, like I felt like I could do better than that. So I knew what journeyman pipe fitters made. I knew I would make a lot more money if I got into the pipe trade. So I had already been in the process of trying to do that anyway. So when I got the call, it wasn't too much to think about. It was just like, okay, I gotta go. So that was the reason. At the time, I think welders were capping out around 25-ish. Maybe you could find a couple places for 30 for some specialty TIG welding, but that kind of seemed the average was around in the mid 20s. There's a lot of like introductory welding jobs that were starting out like anywhere between 18 to 21, but with experience you could get up to like 25, 30. So I knew I could make more money than that if I got into the union. That was my personal reason why I joined the union, was to make more money. But now, I mean, I'm getting calls. They're offering me like 32. I think 32 was the highest amount. They're offering me 32 for a TIG welding job. That was just last week, but that was a weekday job, and I was like, I'm not gonna take that job. I talked to him and told him, said, look, if you got weekend work, I'm available Saturday, Sundays. I'll work 12s, but during the weekday, I have another job where I make way more than you and can offer me. And they actually asked me, they really thought they could match it. They're like, well, how much? Because maybe we can adjust our. And when I told them what I make as a third-year apprentice, they was like, yeah, no, we can't come close to that. So my point being is this isn't actually necessarily a post advocating for the union this time. This is just trying to let people know, like, if you want to get a job that's going to pay you more money, you got to get the right skills and you got to find the right place where the jobs are at. So welding is great. Even if you don't go the union route, even if you just want to be a welder, for the amount of schooling you got to do and for what you're going to pay for schooling to go to welding school, you're going to end up making more money, and it's a job that can't be replaced. There's also a lot of upward mobility. So say you could do, they got a lot of robotics welders, so you can get into the robotics welders. That's not necessarily you welding with your hands, but you're going to be programming the computer for the robotic welder to do what you're telling them to do. And you need to know how to weld in order to do that, because you need to know basically what the puddle's going to do, what to expect from the welder in different scenarios. So kind of like actually at school we were talking about something about they got a lot of CAD programming right now for like our prints for all of our systems. and they're trying to get more pipe fitters to get into doing the CAD drawings, because a lot of times the engineers that do the CAD drawings for these systems, they don't really know everything about piping systems. So they don't understand certain situations like hangers and how much room hangers need. They know how far hangers got to be spaced. They don't necessarily understand hanger placement as far as your elevation of what room you have to work with, how much room the hanger is going to take up, how much room the installation is going to take up. They don't necessarily understand venting highs and drains on the lows. So they're really trying to make a push for pipe fitters to start doing some of the CAD work, which would be good. I mean, there's companies that are doing that actually, and we're talking about, there's a company over in Wisconsin that's doing their pipe fitters, and they actually go around and do CAD drawings, and they'll do layout for a lot of the smaller shops that don't have their own CAD programming. But one of the shops, which if I get rotated, I have a pretty good chance that that's where I'll get rotated to. They actually just sent an apprentice for CAD training because they wanted in-house CAD people to do their prints and stuff. So there's opportunities, upward mobility, and there's the ability to change with the times, because obviously a lot of things are going computerized nowadays. There's a lot of things that they're trying to take the labor aspect out of it, just because labor is probably one of the highest factors for contractors when they bid a job. Labor is expensive. Labor costs much more than the actual rest of the project. So anyway, the moral of the story is, if you're looking for a good job, even if you don't want to join a union, if that's not your goal, or maybe you don't see I don't know, maybe you got a negative aspect of the union for whatever reason, welding's still a great career. You might not make as much as I'm making, but I guarantee you're gonna make good money. It's solid work. For me, it's fun. I like welding. It feels good to do something hands-on where you're actually seeing what you're doing. And for me, every weld I do is like, I try to do this weld better than the last weld. You're never gonna get the perfect weld. There's some guys out there that are slick welders, and they come out with some welds that it's like, dang, I don't even know if I can make it look that good. Like, that's probably a perfect weld. But there's always room for improvement depending on what position you're in or whatever. You can always work on trying to make it better. So that's one thing I like. It keeps me interested, because every puddle is going to be a little bit different. You weld with a different machine, it's going to run a little bit different. So you kind of got to figure out how to tweak it and get it just the way you like it for whatever you're doing. And the pipe trades is dope, because one day I might be welding on 30-inch pipe with 1/8-inch rod, and that's a completely different animal. And then the next day I might be welding some 2-inch pipe with 332 rod. So it's different. You learn a lot of different things, and it's interesting. So anybody out there tells you that there's no work available, there's no jobs, I beg to differ. There's all kinds of jobs, and welding's not the only thing. There's a lot of things in the construction industry that have a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunities. But for me, welding is what I know, so that's what I'm gonna speak to. And you can definitely make good money. Like, I bought things I probably ain't supposed to have. I got a Mercedes, I got a Jaguar, I got a 4-bedroom house. Coming out of prison, I ain't supposed to have that stuff. Like, I'm probably supposed to be living in a efficiency apartment somewhere, struggling. I don't know what you're supposed to be doing, but with my background, I feel like I'm ahead of where I should be. And it only took a couple years, man. For real, it took me about 3 years before I have a house and a Jag. Now I got the Benz, and things ain't all sweet and lovely. I still got money issues, but it is what it is. I think if the economy turns around a little bit, maybe it'll be a little bit easier. And I still got raises coming, so I got a long-term plan. That's another thing. You want to build a plan that's long-term. Ain't nothing gonna just happen overnight. You're not gonna go in and start welding and making the most amount of money and be rich overnight. But if you put together a good plan, not only can you build a good life for yourself, but there's opportunities if you want to keep trying to advance. You could start your own welding shop. You could do side hustle welding. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different opportunities. So that's all I'm saying for today, man. It's just there's work out there, man. You just gotta look for it and know what you're trying to do. With that, hope everybody has a good day.